So we already talked about how to evaluate applications. Now let's talk about the next step of the process, one that seems always like kind of an admin issue, but I think it's very important thing on how you approach people and the people management that you do. So there's an element after you select who you want, which is that you need to accept these people and you need to reject everyone else as well. So let me go over rejections first, and then we can also talk about acceptances. I think that the way that rejection should be seen, at least, is that you low key owe a common courtesy to anyone that applied to your session. Common courtesy means that you're simply very kind with them, you appreciate them for what they did, and that you also take the effort to give them back a little bit more than what they gave you. So you need to give some timely responses. And then I also believe that you should always lead with feedback. And let me show you a template of how I am personally doing that, or at least how I did it for this event. So first of all, very clear rejection from the outset of sending the email out. Thank you for your application, meaning that we're not proceeding forward with it. Then providing some key information about who was there when doing the selection panel, going straight to the point that unfortunately they have not been selected. And then for me, I also provide some consolation from my own personal experience, such as the fact that I was rejected approximately 60% in EYP applications. With that, although it's kind of a positive reinforcement, it doesn't mean that they have to take it in or accept it from you. I always prefer to also provide some kind of feedback for their improvement for their application, which I would simply add here 3 to 4 key points. Why didn't we select you? Maybe the reason that you didn't select someone is actually that, hey, it was a great application, but um, I knew someone else, and therefore I felt that I needed to have a better vibe within my team. That's also a very legitimate excuse, and I think people would be much more upfront and they will accept things much better instead of you trying to break down their application and say, hey, your application wasn't good enough and that's why you're accepted, while maybe the problem was a more personal note. So just something to keep in mind. So when you're reading the application, you're making your comments, just do keep in mind, all right, I'm taking these things in so that I can give feedback later. So that's it about rejecting people. I think lead with empathy, understanding, and always be available for them for any kind of questions that they have. Think that they took the time to apply to your session, so perhaps they can apply to a different session in the future and do much better. The next thing, of course, is about accepting people. So when accepting people, I think that it's still an email kind of situation, to be fair. These are my 4 key things when I'm sending out these emails. Number one is actually providing all essential information for an event. The event dates, when they're supposed to be there, what is the theme, what is the Facebook page. Take everything that's accepting, make a list, and let them know immediately. Give them some input on why they have been accepted. I think that besides giving them some feedback at the same time on their application and helping them improve, it also boasts them a bit, saying, hey, I really loved this element in your application. I really love the storytelling element in your application. I truly love how vulnerable you were in your application. That allows them to understand what they did well and how that also resonated with you. The next thing, when you are accepting people, I think it's super important to set the tone from the very first email you send out. First impressions matter. So do not send like a wide label email that is very impersonal, saying, hey, you're accepted. If you wish to accept this position, please reply until. I think that if you're going to accept someone, and you need to low key figure them out within your vision. So my acceptance emails, for example, are always super hyped, super excited, adding pictures, giving praise, because that's the ways I also lead my team. If your approach is more academic, perhaps you want to set the academic tone very early on. But do remember that first impressions matter. And I think the other thing when accepting people is that it's great to immediately plan the next steps. For example, if you wish to accept, please reply to this email by Wednesday the 15th, and also fill in this doodle post so we can have a chat, giving people an overview, and then also taking the process forward much quicker, so you have the opportunity not to stall things as things go along. So yes, these are my thoughts on accepting and rejecting individuals. I hope that you're going to do it leading with empathy in the future and an understanding of how people's operation works.